Admiral Vashy stood on the command bridge of the dreadnought Eternal Dominion, his 6 eyes gleaming with satisfaction as he surveyed the holographic display showing his fleet. 3,000 warships stretched across space like a metallic constellation, each one bristling with enough firepower to glass a moon. Commander Tom Mali, Vashy's voice dripped with amusement. Remind me again why the High Council sent our entire 3rd battle fleet to conquer one pathetic little planet. Tom Mali, a thin, nervous Korvanian with twitching antennae, consulted his datapad. Sir, the planet Earth houses approximately 8 billion primitive bipeds. Our intelligence suggests they've barely mastered basic combustion engines and primitive projectile weapons. Projectile weapons. Vashy burst into laughter, his mandibles clicking together. You mean they still throw metal slugs at each other? By the void, Tom, my personal sidearm has more destructive capability than their entire military. The bridge crew erupted in snickers and chortles. Navigation Officer Zelk wiped tears from his compound eyes. Admiral, sir, shouldn't we have just sent a single destroyer? This feels like using a plasma cannon to kill a space gnat. Now. Vashy waved a clawed hand dismissively. The High Council wants to make an example. Show the galaxy what happens when species refuse to join our glorious empire voluntarily. Besides, think of the entertainment value. We'll be done before lunch. And I hear their primitive art forms are quite amusing. Tom Mali pulled up another hologram showing Earth's solar system. Our scouts report they have a few small orbital platforms and some basic spacecraft that barely qualify as interplanetary. No shields worth mentioning, no energy weapons, no defensive grids. Honestly, sir, I've seen cargo haulers with better armaments. Perfect. Vashy clapped his hands together. Signaled the fleet. We'll drop out of hyperspace right in their backyard, give them a nice intimidating display of superior firepower, accept their inevitable surrender, and be back home for dinner. The betting pools are giving us what? 30 minutes for complete conquest? 23 minutes, sir. Though personally I think that's generous. Vashy's predatory grin widened. Excellent. Set course for Earth. Time to add another primitive world to our collection. In the intelligence briefing room, Judge Quintara spread her wings and activated the ancient data crystals with ceremonial importance. Behold, fellow officers, the complete intelligence archive on the species known as humans. The holographic display flickered to life, showing grainy images that looked like they were captured through a dirty telescope. According to our most recent surveillance, Quintara announced proudly, conducted a mere 50 Earth years ago, these creatures have mastered the art of throwing sharp sticks at animals for sustenance. Quartermaster A, a portly Korvanian with an obsession for cataloging enemy assets, rubbed his hands together gleefully. Oh! This is rich. Their primary weapons include wooden projectiles launched by string tension, metal tubes that propel lead spheres using controlled explosions, and, this is my favorite, they still ride large 4-legged mammals into battle. Admiral Drohorn, visiting from the 2nd Fleet, nearly choked on his fermented algae drink. You're joking. String tension? Controlled explosions? What's next? Are they going to throw rocks at our shields? Actually, Quartermaster consulted his notes with mock seriousness. Rock throwing is mentioned here as a legitimate combat tactic. They apparently gather in large groups and hurl stones at their enemies. It's called, let me pronounce this correctly, siege warfare. The entire room erupted in hysterical laughter. Communication Officer Blix was wiping tears from all 4 of his optical sensors. Sir, their space program appears to consist of strapping themselves to large fireworks and hoping for the best. Look at this ancient footage. They're literally sitting on top of controlled explosions. Judge Quintara nodded gravely. Indeed. Our analysis suggests their fastest spacecraft can barely reach their own moon. Their interplanetary vessels are essentially metal cans with primitive chemical propulsion, no hyperspace capability, no energy shields, no particle weapons. They're still burning fossil fuels, for crying out loud. This is almost too easy. Admiral Drohorn shook his head. I'm starting to feel bad about this conquest. It's like stealing candy from a larva. Quartermaster pulled up another display. Oh, but here's the best part. According to our cultural analysis, they worship invisible sky beings and believe their planet is only 6,000 years old. Some of them think their world is flat. We're dealing with the intellectual capacity of space plankton here. The betting pool had reached ridiculous proportions. Officer Mech shouted from the back, "I've got 50 credits on complete surrender in under 10 minutes." 10 minutes? Scoffed communications specialist Vorn. "I'll take that bet and raise you. 5 minutes total victory, no shots fired." Judge Quintara closed the intelligence file with satisfaction. "Gentlemen, I believe we're about to witness the shortest military campaign in galactic history. These humans won't even know what hit them, how tragically, hilariously wrong they all were." The Korvanian fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system with all the subtlety of a supernova explosion. 3,000 warships materialized in perfect formation, their massive hulls gleaming menacingly in the light of Sol. Visual confirmation of target system achieved, reported Navigation Officer Zelk, his voice brimming with confidence. No defensive installations detected, no patrol vessels, no weight. His antennae twitched nervously. "Sir, I'm reading some unusual energy signatures." Admiral Vashy leaned forward in his command chair. "Define unusual, officer." "Well, sir, there appear to be several dozen structures scattered throughout the system. They look like monitoring stations, but they're giving off power readings that don't match our intelligence reports." General Kraftnog, the fleet's military strategist, pulled up the sensor data on his personal display. His mandibles clicked in confusion. "These energy signatures are impossible. According to our files, humans barely understand nuclear fusion. But these stations are running on something that looks like contained antimatter reactors." "Antimatter." Vashy laughed dismissively. "Kraftnog, your sensors must be malfunctioning. Next you'll tell me they've invented faster-than-light communication." Suddenly every communication array in the fleet lit up simultaneously. A clear, distinctly human voice crackled through the speakers with the casual tone of someone ordering coffee. "Hey there, big scary alien fleet. This is Brandon Torres from Deep Space Monitoring Station 7. Welcome to the Sol system. How's everyone doing today?" The bridge fell silent. You could have heard a quantum particle drop. General Kraftnog stammered, "Did that primitive bip just casually greet our entire invasion force?" Brandon's voice continued with cheerful indifference. "So, let me guess, you folks are here for the standard surrender or be destroyed routine, right?" "Yeah, we get that a lot. Maybe every couple of decades or so. It gets kind of boring, honestly." Admiral Vashy found his voice. "Human, you dare mock the might of the Korvanian Imperial fleet? We have come to claim your world for the glory of our empire." "Oh, cool, cool," Brandon replied, sounding like he was multitasking. "Korvanian, huh? Let me just check our database. Yep, there you are. Sector 7G, right? How's the weather on Korvania Prime these days? Still having those seasonal methane storms?" General Kraftnog's eyes went wide. How does he know about our homeworld's weather patterns? "Look," Admiral Brandon paused. "What's your name again?" "I am Admiral Vashy of the 3rd Battle Fleet." "Right, Admiral Vashy. Here's the thing. We're going to have to ask you folks to either surrender peacefully or, face the consequences. Standard procedure and all that." The entire bridge erupted in laughter. Commander Tom Malley was practically rolling on the floor. Did that human just ask us to surrender?" "This is Rich," wheezed Communications Officer Blix. "A single monitoring station demanding the surrender of 3,000 warships." Brandon sighed audibly over the comm. "Okay, I can hear you guys laughing. Look, I get it. Big fleet, tiny little humans. Seems pretty one-sided. But seriously, we're trying to do this the easy way here. My supervisor Amy is going to be really annoyed if I have to fill out the alien fleet obliteration paperwork again." Admiral Vashy wiped tears from his eyes. "Human Brandon Torres, Your species' delusions of grandeur are truly entertaining. But playtime is over. Surrender now or face annihilation. All right, Brandon's voice carried a note of resignation. Don't say we didn't warn you, folks. Amy, they're not taking the deal. A new voice crackled through the fleet's communication systems, this one carrying the crisp, professional tone of someone who had clearly done this dance before. Good morning, Korvanian Fleet. This is Amy Kowalski, Senior Diplomatic Liaison for the Seoul Defense Network. I understand Brandon already gave you the standard greeting. Admiral Vashy straightened in his chair, expecting finally to hear some proper groveling. Yes, human Amy. I trust you're calling to discuss the terms of your planet's surrender. Actually, Amy replied with the patience of a kindergarten teacher, I'm calling to offer you surrender terms. Standard package includes safe passage home, medical treatment for any injured crew members, and a complimentary gift basket with some of Earth's finest coffee and chocolate. Really good stuff. The bridge fell silent for exactly 3 seconds before erupting in the most hysterical laughter the Korvanian fleet had ever produced. Officer Moran, tears streaming down his scaled face, gasped between fits of giggles. Did she just offer us surrender terms? His partner, Morden, was holding his sides. Oh, this is precious. A single primitive planet offering surrender terms to the Third Battle Fleet. Amy, darling, do you have any idea how many worlds we've conquered? Approximately 437, Amy replied without missing a beat. Though I notice your success rate has dropped significantly in the past few decades. Might want to look into that. Admiral Vashy wiped his eyes. Human Amy, your species' capacity for delusion is truly remarkable. We have 3,000 ships armed with planet-killing weapons, and you're offering us chocolate? Fair trade chocolate, Amy corrected. And yes, 3,000 ships. We counted. Nice formation, by the way. Very intimidating. Really brings out the whole menacing empire aesthetic you folks seem to be going for. General Kraftnog shook his head in amazement. The audacity. The sheer, unmitigated audacity. Amy, we could turn your entire planet into space dust with a single coordinated strike. You could try, Amy agreed cheerfully. But let's be honest here, that would be really messy for everyone involved. Plus, the paperwork is absolutely murder. So, what do you say? Surrender terms still on the table for another, she paused. 2 minutes and 37 seconds. 2 minutes? Vashy sputtered. What happens in 2 minutes? Well, that's when our automatic defense systems stop recognizing you as potential negotiating partners and start recognizing you as legitimate military targets. As company policy, you understand. Officer Moran was still chuckling. Oh, you humans are delightful. Automatic defense systems. What's next? Robot armies. Something like that. Amy's voice carried a slight smile. 45 seconds left, folks. I really recommend taking the deal. Brandon's already got the gift baskets ready. Admiral Vashy stood up dramatically. Enough of this farce. All ships, prepare for planetary bombardment. Show these delusional humans the true power of the Korvanian Empire. All right then, Amy sighed. Your funeral. Amy out. AB out. The countdown began. All ships fire at will. Admiral Vashy bellowed, his voice echoing across 3,000 bridges simultaneously. Show these primitive humans the price of defying the Korvanian Empire. The response was immediate and magnificent. Plasma cannons that could melt continents charged to full power. Antimatter torpedoes armed themselves with the destructive force of collapsed stars. Energy beams capable of cutting through planetary crusts aligned their targeting systems on the small blue-green world hanging peacefully in the void. Firing solution locked. Reported Weapons Officer Vex. All ships report ready. This is it, sir, the shortest conquest in Imperial history. Fire. Vashy commanded. 3,000 warships unleashed hell itself. The vacuum of space lit up like a miniature galaxy as enough destructive power to sterilize entire star systems lanced toward Earth. Plasma streams, antimatter warheads, and disruptor beams created a wall of death that could have cracked a moon in half. For exactly 1.7 seconds, Admiral Vashy felt the sweet satisfaction of absolute victory. Then space changed. Every single monitoring station that Brandon had casually mentioned suddenly erupted in brilliant silver light. But these weren't monitoring stations at all. They were weapons platforms, hundreds of them, each one outputting energy signatures that made the Korvanian fleet's firepower look like birthday candles. Sir. General Krafnog's voice cracked with panic. Those aren't monitoring stations. They're by the void. What are they? The human weapons didn't fire beams or missiles or any form of projectile that Korvanian science could recognize. Instead, space itself seemed to bend around each alien ship. Reality hiccuped, twisted, and folded like origami made of physics. Gravitational anomalies detected, screamed Navigation Officer Zelk. No, wait, temporal distortions. No, both. It's both. How is it both? Admiral Vashy watched in growing horror as the dreadnought Eternal Dominion began to stretch like taffy. The massive warship, pride of the Korvanian fleet, was being unraveled at the molecular level by forces that shouldn't exist. Shields, he shouted desperately. Full power to shields. Shields are useless, sir. Commander Tom Malley's voice was reaching octaves that shouldn't be possible for his species. These weapons are ignoring our shields completely. They're working on space-time itself. Around them, 3,000 of the most advanced warships in the galaxy were simply ceasing to exist, not exploding, not being destroyed, just peacefully unmaking themselves as fundamental forces rewrote the laws of physics in localized pockets around each vessel. The flagship's bridge began to shake as reality decided to have a small disagreement with itself near the ship's hull. Through the chaos, Brandon's voice came through the speakers with the same casual tone he might use to comment on the weather. 5.3 seconds. Amy owes me lunch money. Impossible. Vashy screamed as his command chair began to phase in and out of existence. We are the Korvanian Empire. We have conquered galaxies. We are the apex of military evolution. Amy's voice joined the conversation with bureaucratic efficiency. Oh, you guys are really tenacious. Most fleets are completely gone by the 4-second mark. Impressive structural integrity on those ships. What have you done? General Krafnog wailed as his tactical display showed 3,000 ships being reduced to approximately 0 ships in real time. A standard planetary defense protocol, Amy explained patiently. Though technically this isn't our main defense system. This is just the automated perimeter security. The real defenses don't activate unless someone actually reaches the inner system. Admiral Vashy felt his consciousness fragmenting as the bridge dissolved around him. In his final moments of awareness, one terrible truth crystallized in his dissolving mind. The humans hadn't been surprised by their arrival. They hadn't been caught off guard. They had been bored. Earth hadn't even bothered to use their military. This was pest control. Emergency escape pods launching, shouted someone who might have been Commander Tom Malley, though it was hard to tell since his voice was coming from what used to be the ceiling. The last thing Admiral Vashy saw before the escape pod's emergency stasis system activated was Earth hanging in space, completely unchanged, completely undamaged, completely indifferent to the fact that the most powerful fleet in Korvanian history had just been casually erased from existence. Brandon's voice followed them into unconsciousness with cheerful professionalism. Rescue ships are en route to collect survivors. Medical teams are standing by. Welcome to Earth, folks. Sorry about your fleet. Total elapsed time from first shot fired to complete fleet annihilation, 5.3 seconds. The Korvanian Empire's most devastating attack had lasted longer than their entire invasion force. Admiral Vashy woke up in what he assumed was either the afterlife or a very comfortable prison cell. The walls were a soothing blue color, soft music played in the background, and there was a vase of fresh flowers on the bedside table. This was definitely not what he had expected from primitive human captivity. Oh good, you're awake. A cheerful human in medical scrubs bounced into the room carrying a clipboard and what appeared to be a steaming mug. I'm Dr. Sarah Chen, and this is coffee. You're going to want to try it. Trust me on this. Vashy sat up slowly, his head still spinning from the escape pod's emergency stasis. Where am I? Earth General Medical Station, Orbit 7, Dr. Chen replied, settling into a chair like she was visiting an old friend. Don't worry, all 437 survivors from your fleet are here. Everyone's getting the full treatment. Medical care, psychological counseling, really good food, and unlimited streaming entertainment. 437? Vashy's voice cracked. Out of 3 million crew members? Yeah, sorry about that. Dr. Chen looked genuinely sympathetic. Our automated systems are designed for maximum efficiency, not maximum survival rates. Though honestly, 400 survivors is pretty good for a fleet that size. The Zephyrian Empire only had 12 survivors, and they brought twice as many ships. Zephyrian Empire? Vashy blinked in confusion. But they were destroyed centuries ago in their attempt to conquer some primitive backwater world. Dr. Chen's smile was almost pitying. Admiral, I think we need to have a little chat. She activated a holographic display that showed the galaxy from a perspective Vashy had never seen before. Trade routes, communication networks, and defense grids spider-webbed across space in patterns that spoke of coordination on an impossible scale. This is the galaxy as it actually exists, Dr. Chen explained gently. But those green lines represent human trade routes. The blue ones are our communication networks. The red ones, well, those are our defense installations. Vashy stared in growing horror. The entire galaxy was covered in red lines. The thing is, Admiral, humanity discovered faster than light travel about 800 years ago. We've been a galactic superpower for 6 centuries. We have colonies in 12 different galaxies, trade agreements with over 4,000 species, and defensive capabilities that make your former fleet look like, well, kids with firecrackers. But the intelligence reports, Vashy stammered. Your primitive technology, your basic civilization. Oh, that. Dr. Chen laughed. Yeah, we keep a bunch of old satellites broadcasting fake signals. Pretend to still be using chemical rockets, fossil fuels, that sort of thing. It's actually a pretty sophisticated deception. We've got entire departments dedicated to maintaining the illusion. Commander Tom Mali, who was apparently in the bed next to Vashy's, sat up with his arm in a sling. Why? Why would you pretend to be primitive? Dr. Chen's expression grew thoughtful. Well, honestly, entertainment, mostly. Every 30 to 50 years, some aggressive empire discovers defenseless little Earth and decides to make us their next conquest. It's become sort of a tradition. She pulled up another display showing a schedule that made Vashy's blood run cold. Let's see, the Mordakian Confederacy tried to invade in 2387. Lasted 4.1 seconds. The hegemony of Vask gave it a shot in 2401. 3.8 seconds, new record at the time. The Crystalline Collective managed 6.7 seconds in 2419. But they brought really impressive shields. You're telling me, General Kraftnog's voice came from across the room, that this is just a game to you? Not a game exactly, Dr. Chen corrected. More like a recurring educational opportunity. We've actually written several doctoral dissertations on the psychology of imperial overconfidence. Your fleet's approach was textbook classic, by the way. Really hit all the major beats. Amy Kowalski appeared in the doorway, carrying a tray of what smelled like absolutely incredible food. How are our guests doing, Sarah? Everyone adjusting okay to reality? I think they're handling the revelation quite well, Dr. Chen replied. Though Admiral Vashy hasn't touched his coffee yet. Amy set down the tray and looked at Vashy with genuine concern. You really should try the coffee, Admiral. After the day you've had, you're going to need the caffeine. 3 weeks later, Admiral Vashy found himself sitting in what humans called a talk show studio, wearing a comfortable Earth-made suit and trying to process how his life had taken such a bizarre turn. The host, an energetic human named Jake Morrison, was grinning at him like they were old friends. So, Admiral Vashy, Jake leaned forward with obvious delight. Tell our audience about the moment you realized your 3,000-ship armada had been defeated by what you thought was a planet of primitive cave dwellers. The studio audience erupted in laughter as Vashy shifted uncomfortably in his chair. Well, Jake, I believe the technical term your people use is we got punked. More laughter. Vashy was beginning to understand why humans found this so entertaining. Now, for our viewers just joining us, Jake turned to the camera. Admiral Vashy here represents the latest entry in Earth's ongoing fake primitive planet project. Amy, can you explain how this works? Amy Kowalski, now wearing casual clothes instead of her diplomatic uniform, joined them on stage. Absolutely, Jake. We maintain approximately 40,000 obsolete satellites broadcasting signals that make Earth look like it's still in the early 21st century. Chemical rockets, internal combustion engines, basic radio communications, the whole package. And this is all for entertainment? Vashy asked, still incredulous. Entertainment, scientific research, and honestly, it's become the most popular reality show in 14 galaxies, Amy replied. The betting pools alone generate enough revenue to fund our entire education system. Jake pulled up a holographic display. Speaking of betting pools, let's check the current odds on our next visitors. The hegemony of brass is at 3-1 favorites, the stellar dominion is running 5-2, and the long-shot dark horse is something called the eternal empire of shadows at 15-1. Wait, Commander Tom Molly, who was sitting in the audience with the other survivors, called out, "You're already taking bets on the next invasion?" Oh, absolutely, Jake nodded. In fact, we've got a whole department that monitors galactic communications for aggressive empires discovering our primitive signals. Current projections suggest we'll see our next visitors in about 6 to 8 months. Amy checked her tablet. Actually, make that 4 months. The brass hegemony just intercepted one of our fake distress signals. They're already mobilizing their fleet. The audience cheered like their favorite sports team had just scored. This is insane, General Kraftnog muttered from his seat. This is business, Amy corrected with a smile. Admiral, you and your crew are welcome to stay and watch the next show. We've had several previous contestants become regular commentators. The Zephyrian survivors do excellent play-by-play analysis. Vashy looked around the studio, at the laughing audience, at the humans treating Galactic Conquest attempts like a weekly entertainment program, and at his own crew members who were actually starting to smile and wave at the cameras. You know what? He said finally, I think I'd like that. Someone needs to warn the next poor fools what they're walking into. Excellent. Jake clapped his hands. Ladies and gentlemen, Admiral Vashy will be joining our commentary team for the next season of Earth Gets Invaded. We'll be right back after these messages. The universe, it seemed, had a sense of humor after all. 4 months later, in the command center of the brass hegemony's flagship Golden Supremacy, Admiral Draco studied the intercepted transmissions with growing excitement. His bronze-plated face gleamed with anticipation as he addressed his senior staff. Gentlemen, we have discovered the perfect target for our next expansion, Draco has announced, his voice reverberating through the chamber like struck metal. A small, primitive world called Earth, a third planet from an unremarkable star. Commander Blix, his second in command, reviewed the data with obvious skepticism. Sir, these readings suggest they're still using chemical propulsion and burning fossil fuels for energy. Are we certain this requires our entire First Armada? Absolutely. Draco slammed his gauntleted fist on the command table. We must make an example. Show the galaxy that no world, no matter how pathetic, can resist the might of the brass hegemony. Meanwhile, in Earth's orbital monitoring station, Brandon Torres was back on duty, feet up on his console, casually watching the alien fleet approach on his sensors while munching on fresh popcorn. Hey Amy, he called over to his colleague, we've got incoming. Looks like, oh, this is rich, they're calling themselves the brass hegemony. Really leaning into the metallic empire aesthetic. Amy Kowalski looked up from her betting tablet with interest. Brass hegemony? That's the 15-1 dark horse. I'm about to make a fortune. How many ships? Let's see. Brandon squinted at his display. 4,200 vessels. Ooh, that's a new record for fleet size. Too bad it won't matter. Dr. Sarah Chen's voice crackled over the intercom from the medical station. Are we expecting survivors this time? Probably, Amy replied, checking her notes. These brass guys use some kind of advanced metallurgy for their ships. Might actually get us into the double digits for survivor count. On the entertainment networks, Jake Morrison was already preparing his opening monologue. Ladies, gentlemen, and assorted sentient beings, welcome back to Earth Gets Invaded. I'm your host, Jake Morrison, and do we have a show for you today? Our returning champion commentator, Admiral Vashy. He is standing by to provide expert analysis on what promises to be another spectacular display of alien overconfidence. Admiral Vashy, now wearing a comfortable Earth sweater and looking surprisingly relaxed, waved to the cameras. Thank you, Jake. Based on the brass hegemony's approach vector and fleet composition, I'm predicting a solid 4.5-second engagement. They're making all the classic mistakes. Back in space, Admiral Dracos was issuing his final orders. All ships prepare for glorious conquest. Today we add another primitive world to our empire. Brandon sighed and reached for his communication array. Here we go again. Brass hegemony, this is Earth Deep Space Monitoring. Welcome to the Sol System, and thank you for participating in today's entertainment. Some species, it seemed, would never learn. But then again, that was exactly what humanity was counting on. The show must go on.